What's going on, Dark Files family? Today, we're diving into one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries in criminal history. A case so bizarre, so filled with twists and turns, that after 75 years, investigators are still trying to piece together what happened. This is the story of a man found dead on an Australian beach with no identification, no explanation, and clues so cryptic they seem ripped straight from a spy novel. But here's the thing. This isn't fiction. This really happened, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand why this case has haunted investigators, amateur sleuths, and internet detectives for 3/4 of a century. But before we jump into this mind-bending mystery, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because trust me, you don't want to miss the insane cases we cover here on Dark Files. December 1st, 1948. Somerton Beach, Adelaide, Australia. Picture this. It's a warm summer evening, the kind where families come out to enjoy the coastline. Two people are taking a romantic stroll along the pristine white sand when they spot something that doesn't belong. Lying against a seawall, perfectly positioned as if he'd simply laid down for a nap, is a well-dressed man. He's wearing a white shirt, tie, brown pullover, and a gray suit. His shoes are polished. His appearance is immaculate, but there's one problem. He's dead. Now, you might think this is tragic, but straightforward. Someone had a heart attack on the beach, right? Wrong. This is where our story goes from unusual to absolutely mind-boggling. The police arrive and immediately notice something odd. Despite being found on a beach, there's not a grain of sand on his clothes or shoes. None. It's as if he materialized there. But it gets stranger. They search his pockets for identification. What do they find? Nothing. No wallet, no ID, no business cards. But here's what they do find. A used bus ticket, some gum, cigarettes, matches, and an unused train ticket to Henley Beach. Oh, and get this. Someone had carefully removed every single clothing label, every single one. Who does that? Who goes through the meticulous process of cutting out every label from their shirt, pants, jacket, and shoes before... What? Going for a walk on the beach to die? The autopsy results come back, and instead of providing answers, they only deepen the mystery. The pathologist finds that the man's spleen is 3 times larger than normal, his heart is in perfect condition, and his stomach contains a partially digested pasty, a local meat pie. But here's the kicker. There's no clear cause of death, no signs of violence, no obvious poisoning, no heart attack. It's as if this perfectly healthy man just stopped living. The pathologist suspects poison, but can't identify what kind. Remember, this is 1948. Toxicology testing wasn't what it is today. But wait, it gets even more bizarre. Months pass. The case starts to go cold. Then, in April 1949, 4 months after the body was discovered, someone makes a discovery that turns everything upside down. A railway worker finds a brown suitcase at Adelaide railway station that investigators believe belongs to the Somerton man. Inside, they find clothes, all with the labels removed, just like the ones he was wearing. They find a laundry bag with T. Keen written on it, a table knife that had been sharpened into a makeshift blade, and various other personal items. But the most important discovery is what they find in the jacket pocket. A tiny piece of paper, torn from a book, with 2 words printed on it, Tamam Shud. Now, unless you speak Persian, those words probably mean nothing to you, but they should send chills down your spine. Tamam Shud means it is finished or it is ended. And this piece of paper, it was torn from the final page of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a collection of Persian poetry. Think about this for a second. Someone dies mysteriously on a beach. 4 months later, investigators find what appears to be his final message. It is finished. Coincidence? I don't think so, but the rabbit hole goes even deeper. Police launch a public appeal, asking if anyone had a copy of the Rubaiyat with the final page torn out, and incredibly, someone comes forward. A man who wishes to remain anonymous tells police that months earlier, he found a copy of the book in the back seat of his car after leaving it parked near Somerton Beach. Let me repeat that. This man finds a book in his car in the exact location where the Somerton man was discovered, and that book is missing the exact piece of paper found in the dead man's pocket. When police examine the book, they find something that makes this case go from mysterious to absolutely mind-blowing. On the back cover, someone had written a series of letters in pencil. W babad ml boy, WT impenent P, MLIabo ITTMTM stiabi. What is this? A code? Random letters? A dying man's confused scribbles? To this day, nobody knows. Cryptographers, code breakers, computer programs, amateur sleuths, everyone has taken a crack at deciphering this sequence. Some think it's a book code, others believe it's abbreviations for names or places. But after 75 years, it remains unbroken. But that's not even the most shocking discovery in the book. Police also find what appears to be a phone number faintly written in the book. It belongs to a woman named Jessica Thompson, who lived just 5 minutes away from where the Somerton man was found. When police interview Jessica, her reaction is telling. According to the officers present, when shown a plaster cast of the dead man's face, she looked like she was about to faint. She went white as a sheet and appeared to recognize him immediately. But then she composed herself and claimed she had never seen him before in her life. Now, Jessica had an interesting background. During World War II, she had worked in intelligence and had connections to people involved in top-secret government work. When the Somerton man died, she was living under an assumed name with a man who wasn't her husband, raising a child whose paternity was questionable. Jessica also revealed something fascinating. She had once owned a copy of the Rubaiyat, and she had given it to a man named Alfred Boxall during the war. Police tracked down Boxall, thinking they've solved the case. But when they find him, he's very much alive and still has his copy of the book. So, whose book was found in the car? Who wrote the mysterious code? And why did Jessica Thompson react so strongly to seeing the dead man's face if she truly didn't know him? Here's where the case takes an even more sinister turn. This is 1948-1949, right at the beginning of the Cold War. Australia had recently begun hosting British nuclear tests and was becoming increasingly important in Western intelligence operations. Some investigators began to wonder, was the Somerton man a spy? The evidence is circumstantial, but compelling. His clothes had all labels removed. Standard spy tradecraft. He carried no identification. He was in peak physical condition. Jessica Thompson had intelligence connections. The mysterious code looked like a cipher. His cause of death was consistent with exotic poisoning. But if he was a spy, for which side? Was he Australian, Russian, British, American? And was his death the result of a mission gone wrong? Or was he eliminated because he knew too much? There's another theory that's equally chilling. Some investigators believe the Somerton man committed suicide, and the Tamam Shud paper was his way of saying goodbye. But if that's true, why all the secrecy? Why remove the labels? Why the mysterious code? For decades, the case remained cold. Jessica Thompson, who later became Jessica Harkness, took her secrets to the grave in 2007. She never admitted to knowing the Somerton man, but her family members have since suggested that she definitely knew more than she let on. Then, in 2021, something incredible happened. After 73 years, investigators finally got approval to exhume the Somerton man's body for DNA testing. Advanced forensic techniques that didn't exist in 1948 might finally be able to tell us who this man was. And in 2022, the breakthrough came. Professor Derek Abbott from the University of Adelaide, who had been obsessed with this case for years, announced that he believed he had identified the Somerton man through DNA analysis and genealogy research. According to Abbott's research, the Somerton man was Carl Charles Webb, an electrical engineer and instrument maker from Melbourne. Webb had disappeared around the time the Somerton man was found, and DNA evidence from the exhumed remains showed a familial connection to Webb's descendants. Case closed, right? Well, not exactly. See, even if the Somerton man was Charles Webb, that doesn't answer the bigger questions. Why was he on that beach? Why were his labels removed? What does the code mean? How did he die? And most importantly, what was his connection to Jessica Thompson? Some family members of the suspected identification aren't convinced. They point out that Charles Webb was reportedly a quiet, unremarkable man, not someone who would orchestrate such an elaborate mystery around his own death. And here's something that should make you question everything. Even with modern DNA analysis, some experts aren't 100% certain about the identification. The remains were in poor condition after 70-plus years, and degraded DNA can lead to inconclusive results. So we might have a name, but we're nowhere closer to understanding what actually happened on Somerton Beach that night in December 1948. Let me paint you a picture of just how bizarre this case truly is. Imagine you're walking down the street tomorrow and you find someone who has no identification, has removed every clothing label, is carrying a piece of paper that says "It is finished" in Persian, has a mysterious code written in a poetry book, appears to have been poisoned by an undetectable substance, has a connection to someone with intelligence background who refuses to admit knowing them, has been positioned perfectly on a beach with no sand on their clothes. You would immediately think this is something out of a movie, but this really happened. This is a real case that real investigators have been working on for 75 years. And here's what makes it even more haunting. There might be people still alive who know the truth. Jessica Thompson's family, Charles Webb's relatives, former intelligence operatives from that era, someone, somewhere, knows what really happened. But they're not talking. So what do you think happened? Let me know in the comments below. Do you believe Charles Webb was the Somerton man? Do you think this was a suicide, a murder, or something else entirely? Was he a spy, or just an ordinary man caught up in extraordinary circumstances? Personally, I think there's way too much weirdness here for this to be a simple suicide or natural death. The removed labels, the mysterious code, Jessica Thompson's reaction, it all points to something much more sinister. Maybe he was a spy who was eliminated. Maybe he was involved in some kind of illegal operation that went wrong. Maybe he discovered something he wasn't supposed to know. Or maybe he's still out there, and what they found on that beach wasn't Charles Webb at all. Okay, that last one might be getting a little too conspiracy theory for even me, but with the case this bizarre, anything seems possible. What we do know is this. 75 years ago, a man died under mysterious circumstances, leaving behind clues that read like a thriller novel. Despite decades of investigation, advanced DNA testing, and the obsessive work of amateur detectives around the world, we still don't really know what happened. And that, Dark Files family, is what makes the Tamamshud case one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of all time. If you enjoyed diving into this rabbit hole with me, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. We've got more mind-bending mysteries coming your way. And trust me, you won't want to miss them. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, sometimes the most ordinary places hide the most extraordinary secrets. This has been Dark Files. I'll see you in the next one.